This is a short presentation on field research, specifically focusing on what kind of knowledge you can get out of field research and how you might use it. The assumption behind field research is that there are things that you can find out about all sorts of subject matter that can't be found necessarily in other forms of publication, such as books or articles. It assumes that you yourself can go out and make relevant knowledge about a subject simply by observing or surveying or interviewing. It assumes that while you may find out all kinds of information from other forms of research, that going and making some knowledge of your own may provide a crucial piece that you wouldn't have had otherwise. So why should you bother to do field research? One reason is that it helps you to understand more about the situation into which you're writing. So, and that's what we've called kairos. That is, it helps you as the writer to understand the situation, the people, the actual physical locations, their work, their opinions, their way of using information. Understanding all of that will help you do a better job of accurately aiming your writing at a specific situation. This also has to do with rhetorical attunement. That is, we're always having to make a balance between what we know about a subject or issue, the research that we have made for ourselves about that subject or issue, the people who are going to use the information and the situation, and the typical ways that they use information or circulate ideas. Understanding more about all of those things, which is something you can find out from doing well-planned field research, will help you to attune your writing rhetorically to the situation in which you are aiming it. And lastly, it will help you to understand something more about how do people use information and writing in the situation you're aiming at, and to make your writing therefore more usable in that situation and by those people. 3 methods: conducting surveys, conducting interviews, and conducting field observations. Or let me just say at the outset that there is brief and very, very helpful guidelines in the chapter 25, near the last section, called Using Empirical Sources, that talks about each of these methods and will give you some specific helps. So if you want to do a survey, this can gather data and get the views of people on many different people on a particular subject. There's online tools that you can use to do this. Try and figure out a good way to both gather and retrieve the information, and plan the survey so that you get more than one type of response, which will then round out the information you get. For conducting an interview, you want to make sure that you plan an interview in much the way that you would plan a survey. It's easy because it's a conversation to think that an interview is easy to conduct, but a well-planned interview will go much, much better than a cold interview. Some tips are to plan easy-to-answer questions at the beginning of the interview and more open-ended questions that invite expansiveness toward the latter part of the interview. Figure out a way to record what you are hearing from your interview subject. That could mean a tape recorder. It could mean conducting the interview by email, which gives you a text representation. You have to balance the fact that when you get an email, you don't get some of the nuances that you would get if you're sitting face to face. Anyway, again, look at the guidelines that are on in the chapter. Lastly, when you conduct a field observation, you have an opportunity to see firsthand how a particular site operates and how do people move around and interact in that site. There's some specific ways that you can plan a good field observation. Again, look at the chapter. This is what I'm asking you to do for the community writing project. So you'll want to do a good job getting information. This will help you, I think very carefully about how your rhetorical situation actually works in real life. Just reminding you that the guidelines for your community setting analysis, the field research is the basis for that, is in Learning Module 6, Writing in the Community, and it's contained in the long document called Detailed Guidelines for the Community Writing Project. Here's some questions that you could use to construct your community setting analysis and your field research.